Hi and welcome into the form. What a big weekend of racing. Group 1s on both sides of the channel. Let's see what's coming up. First up, we'll talk to Bevan Sweeney about Hastings. Also speak with jockey Sam Collett, for Riccarton with Matt Cross. Also join the Go Racing team with Albert Bosma. We'll get to Sydney for Chris Waller and a big weekend for that stable. Adrian Bott will also talk about their team for the weekend. Ben Asghari joins us to talk Melbourne form, and Brad Gray will take us through the Sydney tips. Group 1 racing at Hastings, and the man on the track for us for trackside is Bevan Sweeney. Sweeney's really looking forward to this, especially after the way that Cool Sign Mav and Spring Pride set the scene in the Tarzino last time out. How excited are you for this one?
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to getting back on track, Aidan. Look, it was a cracking day, day number 1, and the supporting fields in day number 2, I think, are just as good, if not better. The Group 1, Cool Sign Mav, I think he has it at its mercy. A-Rod and his Springtide finds another link, but is a really strongly developing horse. And Dragon Leap, I don't think he had all favours on day number 1, and he's certainly a horse I think will improve into that particular race. But look, I'm always excited to get out on course these days, Aidan, especially on a Group 1 day of racing. And let's hope the sun is shining. It's beautiful here at the moment, and the track should be right on the mark.
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke to John Barry yesterday, and he said, you know, there's been that improvement from course on Mav from that first race. So those other horses who are certainly more seasoned, it's not going to be easy for them to turn the tables on them, is it?
No, and I think the relevant fact with Cool Sign Mav is I don't think he is an electric sprint of a Catalyst or other horses like that, but he can maintain pressure, and that really puts pressure back through the field when he's cruising along at such a high tempo. Then they're off the bridle. Can they pick him up? He's going to continue at the same sort of tempo. And it's sort of a heartbreaking style of racing and puts horses out of their comfort zones a long way from home. So it's a little bit unique what he does. We've seen some good leaders before, but he's got a little bit more top end than many that we've seen, just out and out leaders. But look, he's drawn 7. I don't see any reason why he doesn't get across pretty easily from that draw. I don't see too much pressure. Not as much pressure as he took in day number 1 as well, Aidan. So, look, if he gets there on his ear, I don't think they can beat him if they sit off him. So what are they supposed to do? Put pressure on and probably break themselves. So, look, he'd want to win today to go on to the Cox Plate. I think that's the obvious suggestion. If he is to go Cox Plate, he has to win over the 1,600 metres. They might still go, but I do expect him to win. And look, it'll be an interesting addition to the Cox Plate heading over to Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. He was second back in 2011 with Jimmy Shue, and this horse, he does run into what looks like a really good Cox Plate. However, but interesting news as well coming out yesterday that the horse will transfer to Danny O'Brien on the back of that Cox Plate too.
Yeah, look, it's a majority owned by Australians, as I understand it. I think JB's got 10%. So, look, John's had his fun on this side of the Tasman with him, with Group 1 success. Why not send him there? He can run around for $500,000 to $1 million every second sort of Saturday, this type of horse. And look, he'll be competitive in the right race. As you mentioned, he's probably going to run into one of the great Cox Plates, horse-wise, with a couple of superstars in there. So, look, that's a big ask, but you wouldn't be scared of having a crack at that particular race, and John's not. So, good on him. But look, post that in Australia, as you mentioned, he could run for $5 to $1 million every Saturday, and he's sure to pick up a race like that, whether it's in Queensland, whether it's, you know, if they travel him around a bit. Look, he's a good top quality Group 1 horse here in NZ, and he'll line up at the right level there in Australia as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. So who's his dangers in this Winter Park Plate?
Well, I think the major danger out of day number 1 is clearly Springtide. This horse is, I don't know, it's improved 3 or 4 lengths in my mind, Aidan, from what we saw early on in the winter. I think he was pegged as a wet track horse. I actually don't think he likes the heavy 11s, heavy 10s. He's been beaten in some nice fields, but by quite some margin. Look back at the Open Cup, and he was well beaten that day. I think he's much improved into the slow ground. Dead ground, look, he'll get away with it, I think, because he's got a good turn of foot. I do think he likes to get his toe in, and I still think there's that opportunity tomorrow. But look, he's going the right way. It's going to be his first crack at the 1,600 metres, but I don't think that's a worry on what we've seen for sure. He's developing nicely. The other one, Pre de Fur, looks to be coming up quite nicely as well. So, no Dragon Leap in here this day. I think I mentioned him earlier, but he's not in here. And look, he's clearly a horse that's got good ability, but pretty fierce Springtide. They look the two. Perina's going nicely enough. I don't know. You never go into these Group 1s and say he can't be beat, but I'm not sure I can see him getting beaten tomorrow, hey, Rob?
I totally agree. I totally agree with you. I thought this was basically at his mercy, and he looks as good a sort of Group 1 bet as I think you'd want to be finding. What about the Group 2 Hawke's Bay Guineas, Bevan? We saw Wakari really good in that Sir Colin Meads Trophy last time out. It's maybe not the depth of quality of a Hawke's Bay Guineas we've seen in previous years, but pretty competitive on paper.
It's an interesting race. I'm actually quite excited about this race because I think there's a lot of horses that are a little bit unknown, and you might just see a superstar emerge out of this. I mean, I really like what Mana Nui did for Chad at the most recent start to fresh up. I saw Kufu, of course, beat home Mike Carroll and Rue Claire, who both came out and won yesterday. So the form around him and the wrap around him has been strong. He's sort of backed it up with a nice win at Harwood. So he's an exciting type. I've liked what Whiskey's been doing. Look, being behind Soldier Boy. I suppose the one niggle around that Soldier Boy race is they ran 127, and then Springtide came out and ran, 3.5 seconds quicker on the day. So I'm not sure how it rates up. You'll have to talk to the facts and figures, guys. But for me, it maybe just was that little bit weak. But the performance of Wakari wasn't. Clearly, to beat I Wish I Win, had him cold at the 200-metre mark. Look, if the blinkers were on, I Wish I Win, maybe the result was different, but you can't knock his attitude, this horse. He just pinned his ears back and he fought to the line. He's had that injury, life-threatening, and he's lucky to be with us. I saw him work on Tuesday morning. Look, you couldn't complain with the work he did. He's not overly big. He's got a big overstep on him. He's the one because he's got the win on the board. But down this field, you look at Hoodlum. Look, I was impressed with Hoodlum. And behind Wakari, he made up a lot of ground, and 1,400 metres probably does really assist him going into the race. He's a good horse. You make no mistake about Hoodlum. He'll be going serious sort of places. And then you've got the Manuanuis, Kafus of this world. I thought Meritable also a really good performance at its most recent winning. And Nestig, I don't think got all the rub of the green in behind Soldier Boy. There's a bit in store for this gelding. Maybe a Derby type of horse, more than 1,400 metres. Nestig with a bit more time. But you look at this form line, you say Wakari has the best. So yes, favourite, 290 into 250 if you want to take that price. I think you're probably shopping okay, especially at the longer price you got. I think there's a couple there, Whiskey, Kafu, Mana Nui, Hoodlum. It'll give him a decent sort of shake on Saturday, Aidan. But he's got to be the top selection on his attitude and his win last start.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a good competitive betting affair. Bevan, what about the best for the program? Are you going Coolside Mav or are you going outside that?
Well, I think given that Coolside Mav is a very good bet at $1.80, but I think Richard Fenwick let my cat out of the bag yesterday when we interviewed him. Really like one called She's a Catch in the last. Jumped out beautifully. Guy's a very astute man. He won't run them on tracks that he don't think is appropriate. He's waited for decent ground for She's a Catch. We all remember her performance through the carnival last season. She's got an awkward enough sort of draw on Saturday, but Lisa Allpress is aboard. She will have to sort of weave a path. Look, she can still be pretty green in nature. Look, she's not the most robust sort of mentally type of horse, but she's got the ability. I think she hits the right race coming off what I've been told was a very dominant jump out performance. So in a race where you've got a lot of speed rising powers in there and others that will sort of set this race up, I think I'll be waiting to the last on the program. They're in already, 5,450 pretty quickly in the push of the fixed odds button. So I'm going to be going with her as the best bet. I think Tamahina is a nice horse as well in that particular race going forward. But yeah, I'll be with her as my best at 450.
Okay, anything else for the form watchers, Bevan, to get their teeth stuck into?
Well, I'm going to give the punters a play early on in the program. Race number 1 on the program. It's at 65 over the 2,100 metres. Now, there's 2 horses in here. It's quite clean on Le Grazi on day number 1, and I don't think anyone missed the performance. Got in an awful position and probably was held at the line to be beaten 1.9 lengths. It sets up the 2,200 metres. Look, it's manners-wise not the perfect type of horse and not the easiest sort of ride, but we get Troy Harris on again. He'll learn from that performance. Inside gate's a little bit of niggle. So I'm going to say back 2 in this race. The Grazi's around about $3. And then you've got Mozzie, who was in the same race. Now, this horse is set for 2,100 metres. That's where it performs at its very best. It was actually buffeted in that race to be only beaten 3.5 lengths, and it was second up. It's third up over ground today, and it is paying $7.50. So the other two I see in this race as winning chances. You get threes, you get 750s. The Grazi gets you a profit of 10 units, and if you get it the other way, you get 5.5 units. So I'll be playing both of those in race number 1 to get your day underway.
Really appreciate you going through the card for us, Bevan. We look forward to your coverage tomorrow at Hastings. Make sure you enjoy the Group 1 day.
I will love it. Rod, wonderful to talk to you, and best luck to the punters. That's the key.
Don't sing if you want to.
Since day one, he's shown a bit of ability.
Yeah, he's been a pretty professional little horse, really. Done everything right as a 2-year-old. You know, he went to the trials and jump outs, and it's always been well behaved.
You'll never get a second chance. Plan all your moves in advance.
He's done 1,000 this morning and seemed to work through the line strongly.
Yeah, Dylan said he worked better than he did before he went to Hastings, so pretty happy with him. He's really come through this race better than he did his first start, so I'm really happy.
Too much work to be
I think
done.
the most notable thing at Hastings, in my mind, was his attitude. He's got a fair bit of that.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool horse, really. He's pretty laid back. He takes everything in his stride, and he's really competitive, so it's a good attribute to have an horse.
We reflect back on that first preparation, and he performed as you expected at debut.
Yeah, he just got beaten by one of Pikey's horses first start. He missed a bit of work going into that because he'd been a little bit touch shinny in one shin, but he improved a lot for his next start, and he ran away from them that day, and bad luck that he just chipped the sesamoid and took it away from his tendon, so we thought it was the end of him. The vets recommended putting him down, but Bob's pretty persistent, the owner. He just said, look, he's got the ability, let's try. So we locked him in a box for 2 months. He's a colt, and he's such a wonderful patient. And then put him in a small yard for another 2 months and x-rayed it. The vets couldn't believe it, and so we sent him to John Trump and put him on a water walker for 5 weeks, and he came back, and then we just gave him a long slow prep into here. So
You've obviously had some big goals as preparation, but you began against the older horses this season.
Oh, he had one. His first start, we had to get him going. Like, he needed 2 runs before the Guineas, so planned to go there. And like the horse that beat him won a game the other day, and they carried 5 kilos less than him. So it was a good effort for a horse. He's still only 2. So yeah, he went into Hastings. We were pretty happy with him.
Okay. What's the long-term goals with him?
Oh, look, we just take him day by day, really. Like, you never know with a horse like this, so just hope he can stay in one piece. We might head to Riccarton. Well, that's the plan at the moment, so hopefully he holds up and we'll get him there.
Joining us now, Sam Collett, to talk through who rides at Hastings Group 1 day. Sam, always jockeys get up for these. Just tell us about your book of rides and how much you're looking forward to the day.
Hey, Adam. Yeah, no, I'm obviously really looking forward to getting the second Group 1 of the season underway, and hopefully the weather's a little bit better for everyone involved, and the track, obviously, if it stays dead, then hopefully it'll suit most of mine.
Let's kick off with the feature race and Harlot. What did you make of the run of the Tarzina?
I think we probably rode him a little bit handier than his normal position, just with the one draw and obviously not wanting to get too far off course on Mav. I think he was also tripped up a wee bit by being a bit second up and the track conditions. Like, he really is a horse, like you saw on his fresh up run, that he really can explode quite quickly on top of the ground. And his work since then has been great. The tracks at Matamata this week have been a little bit better for him to work on the grass and that, and he seems to be a lot more comfortable. So I'm pretty confident, coming into Saturday from the barrier 6 draw, we can probably ride him maybe at that spot further back, so he's got a better turn of foot.
We saw you riding him in work on the grass on Tuesday. What did you make of that work?
Yeah, like I said, I'm very happy with his work this week. I think sort of leading up to his run the other day, he was probably just a little bit more dour, whether he's just that first start run just took a little bit out of him. But he seems to have bounced through that. He's very bright. He had a little bit of fast work just to stretch his legs on Thursday too, which I was really happy with. So he really is. He looks phenomenal, and if he brings what he's capable of doing Saturday, then I think he's going to kick home some kind of race.
Okay, obviously, call sign Mav is the measuring stick in that race, but what can Harlech do in this race? Where can he possibly finish?
Well, I think he's definitely capable of, running into those close placings. I'm not sure. Call sign Mav is obviously going to take a fair bit of beating because he puts himself in that prominent position and really takes some chasing down. But, Harlech, on his day, he can rattle off a pretty good turn of foot. If he's a few lengths, probably closer to 4 lengths off call sign Mav, and he's travelling well, I'm sure he can, run fairly close on what he is capable and what he's shown me in his work.
Okay, you've picked up the ride on Wakari in the Hawke's Bay Guineas at Group 2, and boy, this horse is really impressive the first day in that Colin Meads trophy. What did you make of that performance?
Oh, look, it was an incredibly tough run for him that day. He's had to do a little bit of work, and he's probably only had a small breather before he's obviously been challenged again, but he looks like a horse who's just really tough. His form's great. He's drawn a really nice soft barrier. Without having talking to Royden prior to with tactics, I'm assuming he'll probably get a nice run from that draw. Like I said, he looks like a really progressive type, and he's got the real determination to win. So I'm really excited about picking up the ride. So it'd be nice to bag a black type before I head off.
Absolutely. Where do you see him in running, Sam?
I would say he'd be, probably in the first 4 or 5.
Okay, yeah, let's rip through the rest of your rides as well. Kick off with Ember Attack. What can you tell us here?
I didn't think his run on the Poly was too bad the other day. I obviously won his maiden race on him. He's probably had a few runs where tracks haven't suited him, so I really think an improved track condition at Hawke's Bay will suit him. I don't think he's too far off it. I know his form hasn't been fantastic of late, but the few times I have ridden him and he's gone well, he didn't sort of take me as a kind of horse that was only going to clear maidens and that was it. So I think he can run a cheeky race. Whether he's good enough to win, I'm not too sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ran thereabouts. Okay,
race 2 Monza.
Yeah, a horse I haven't ridden before. I see he's drawn a little bit of a sticky gait, but he's obviously a race winner, being that conditions race, so that might hold him in good stead, but hopefully he can get a nice run from the barrier.
Okay, Mai Tai was a stakes winner late last season. What are you making of her chances in the third?
Yeah, I obviously won on her at Palmerston North before she went out for a spell. She's a really tough mare, progressive type. I'm assuming she's probably going to need this run. Whether she's hitting the line strongly, I'm sure that will be her go.
Okay, got a little share in Okoye. What sort of confidence can you give me on this one, Sam?
So she's a filly I've had a lot of time for. She's had a couple of trials under her belt this time, and we've had a few gear adjustments on her this time just to try and get her to leave the gates a little bit cleaner, because she has at times been quite tardy away, and she has drawn out, so I do assume that she's going to get back. She has a great turn of foot, and I've been really happy with her work leading up to this.
Is she likely to need the first one?
I would say so. Had she drawn a better barrier, and then I'm sort of 2 or 3 lengths close without having to do any work, I would probably be a lot more confident. But I know from the draw I'm going to have to get back probably a few more spots, and it's going to be that much harder unless they go really fast, which I can't see that happening.
Geez, Cody's team's flying, isn't it?
They are. Cody, he takes a lot of pride in his training, and the horses are all looking phenomenal. And I know he had a frustrating season last season, but so far the team's, looking like they might come up and hopefully shape up for a really, successful season for him this time around.
Yeah, okay. Race 5, Hunter Pence, obviously trained on the track, and a bit of that home advantage having trained on all those dry tracks in prep.
Yeah, he's obviously getting a bit long in the tooth now, but Felix does a great job with his horses, and like you said, he'll know his way around. So I'm not too sure if that's his pet distance, but I'm sure he'll run well anyway. Okay,
and your other ride, race 7's Overstay. Just tell us of the rides that you've got there, Sam. What's the pick of them?
Obviously, Royden's horse, he looks like a very classy 3-year-old, and what he showed last start. And from the soft draw, I think he's likely to get hopefully the ideal run and race and take some pegging back.
Geez, it's going to be tough if you win that one and see the horse going around to 2,000 guineas and not being able to get back in New Zealand to come and ride. That might be just a little bit hard.
Yeah. It's going to be hard seeing a lot of the good horses I rode last season go around, and you can always think, what if you miss out on? But that's just one of those things I've had to take into consideration in making the decision to head over there.
You're still really excited for the new challenge?
Yeah, I am. Like I said, home will always be here. So at this stage, it's the new challenge I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, improving my riding even more and getting more experience will only hold me in good stead, hopefully, for my future career.
Absolutely. I don't know whether I'll talk to you before you leave again, Sam, but thanks so much for your candidness, your willingness to be part of everything we do on trackside, and we wish you all the best for Queensland.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Race card and Riccarton on Saturday and calling the action and giving us the benefit of his form insight as well as Matthew Cross. Matt, really looking forward to this program, and the fields have come up strong, big, competitive. It should be a good day.
Yeah, absolutely, Aidan, and I think that track will be perfect as well. Currently a dead 5, but we couldn't have got a better day here in Canterbury, to be fair. So it wouldn't surprise me if we got back to that dead 4 by the morning, and especially if tomorrow's a nice day. Should be the sort of track that'll suit everybody. Rails back into 7 metres, so there's going to be a little bit of fresh ground for them all to play on. As you say, fantastic day and some even fields, but I think it'll be a good betting day. I think we can hit a few of the favourites with a fair bit of confidence, particularly from the Tony Pike base coming south. Looking forward to seeing how they match up.
Okay, like you, Matt. We're only 5 weeks away from the first day of Cup Week, would you believe? And of course, a lot of these horses will be getting ready for that as well. One of those Cup Week features the Copeland Bakeries Mole. The 8th race is the prelude for that, an open race over the 1,400 metres. How did you assess this one, Matt?
Well, Miss Tycoon Rose is obviously Aidan, the horse with the boom coming into the race, and she gets into the race beautifully, doesn't she? With a kilo claim, the ratings are in her favour down to 53.5. How it's all worked out in terms of her barrier draw, she's probably good enough to jump out, find herself in a good spot. Then I expect they'll let the pressure come and head her off. And if Kavish Chowdhury can get her into some sort of rhythm, which I think she will relatively quickly, then she can certainly pick them up. Marcus Aurelius is an interesting runner. He drops 2 kilograms and gets a better gait. A little bit of the sting out of the ground, I think will really suit him, and up to 1,400 metres. He's got an excellent record at the trip. So I thought he was the main danger. A horse who I think will fly under the radar a little bit potentially from his barrier draw is Whale Song. I thought his run the other day over 1,200 metres was excellent and maybe as good as Hasbro. He didn't get as clear of a run as what Hasbro did at them late. So I think that Whale Song and Hasbro, there's not too much between them, with Whale Song having a bit of a barrier advantage. But look, all the talk is about Miss Tycoon Rose. She's one of the better horses here in the South Island, I feel, Aidan. And from the barrier draw with the weight, how the race will pan out, I thought should be awfully hard to beat.
Yeah, a really good competitive race. Let's move you forward a couple of races, Matt. And the 10th is the New Zealand Bloodstock Ready to Run sale, advertising that race and open over the 2,000 metres. A difficult one, I thought. Yeah, how did you assess it?
I'm going with our old favourite here, Aidan, Take the Deal. I thought out of barrier number 7, he might find himself in a bit of a better spot. I think he might have just got maybe 1 or 2 spots too handy for him last time. Had he settled maybe 3-4 back on the rail or with one off cover, then he may have just finished it off with that electric sprint a bit better. 2,000 metres is a plus, meets El Gladiador 2 kilograms better and is drawn better than that horse. So I think that if they can find him maybe midfield just a little bit better from the draw, then he can certainly run over the top of them, Take the Deal. And I think he's very backable under the 54 kilos. You have to respect El Gladiador, comes up 2 kilos from a more testing gate, which could be in favour of some others. And the interesting horse, Aidan, is Southern Ocean. He definitely blew out in that most recent run. If he's come on from that, his record suggests that it's the sort of race that he could step up in. But he would have to improve a little bit because he was kind of there at the 400 and then he faded very quickly last time. Terry Ray factor takes him a long way from a nice gate and a good weight as well. But I'm happy to play the price around Take the Deal, Aidan, in the 10th.
Okay, like that, and really looking forward to one earlier on the card, and that is the Guineas Trial, which is race 6, sponsored by Inglewood Stud, and we've got some really nice progressive 3-year-olds going around here. How did you measure them up?
Oh, hard, very, very hard. I've always been a massive fan of Fireglow, and I think that the 1400 metres is going to be up his alley. He's got a nice spot in the map from barrier number 1, a kilo down to 56.5 kilos. And in these sort of races, Aidan, as you know, 1 kilogram can be the telling factor between horses with a lot of excellence. So I thought Field of Gold was a really talented horse. He can jump. I think that the big track suits him. Just having a look at him around Te Rapa, he's built like a 1600 metre horse, and I'm sure they've got the Guineas in mind with him. A half brother to Sherwood Forest, so you'd think the step up to the 1400 metres would be ideal. And as I say, he just looks like the sort of horse who are 14 or 1600 on a big roomy track is really going to suit Field of Gold. Widest sort of draw, but I think he's good enough to punch across and take his spot. I do like Fireglow. He's a danger. The interesting horse is Nevere. I thought in his trial at Ashburton, he was on and off the bit, being a colt. They didn't trial him in the blinkers. That's important to note. He does race in the blinkers, but he had no blinkers on in the trial. And you watch him, he was sort of back and forward, and not necessarily disinterested, but being a colt with the blinkers going on, you'd think he'd be a little bit sharper in his races. And I think he does have a bit of talent, Novere. And the other one, Mackenzie Ladd, might just have to take a little bit of a step up, but he will be an improver second up. Good race. I think Field of Gold's got it all in front of him. I know that he only beat a small field at Te Rapa, but he ticks a lot of boxes here.
Absolutely does. A really good race as well. What about your bit of the day, Matt? Are you going to one of those 3 races, or are you going outside?
I'm going to stick with the Tony Pike base. I think Tony's got a really strong chance of winning maybe 4 or 5 races. Providence Provides, Fields of Gold, Chanel, Stimulant will all go around as short prices, and as does one in race number 1, Aidan, a horse called There You Go. Was excellent last time out. Its closing sectionals on the O'Leary were very, very good. And I thought those sectionals suggested that next up 1400 metres would suit. Wide draw, I don't think will matter. There'll be a bit of pressure. If Cosiasano can get the Daughter of Niagara into clear air, then I think she'll be winning race number 1. She's on 1,000 guineas path, also holding on for the 2,000 guineas. And I thought anything over than $2 was good shopping, and bookies have given you $2.50 around that horse. So There You Go as the best. And I've got a couple for you to shop around at value, Aidan. I'm going to go to race number 5 as the value bet on the card. This horse is paying overs. Number 12, Darcy Q. Its run at Gore the other day was good because the pattern of the day was that nothing back in the field could make ground. I think a dead track will suit. Ran the best 800, 600 and 400 in that race at Gore, and 2 Riccarton Park where she loves it, can roll forward, find a spot, 2,000 metres suits her. Darcy Q, race 5, number 12 is the value. And the blowout chance of the day, if she brought her best form, is in a really competitive race, the 11th on the card, over 1,600. Sidewinkers go on. Bronte Beach, runner number 7. Bridget Grills goes on as well. Bridget riding well since she's arrived back here in New Zealand. And I think she can get the best out of this mare. Her 2 runs back, she's at a no excuses point of her preparation at 1,600. It's her pet distance, has the shades going on, and should get a bit more of a competitive tempo. She's $15, Bronte Beach in the last on the card. Certainly worth a couple each way, Aidan. But the day's going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it, particularly if that track dries out a little bit more and we get to that sort of better side of a dead 4. There's going to be no excuses across the board if the tempo's right for many horses. But it's going to be a great day.
I don't know where you get the time getting Gore sectionals when you're doing commentaries on all the gallops, the trials, and all the harness as well. I really appreciate you giving us your insight into it, Matt. We'll link up on trackside to take us through 11 races at Riccarton on Saturday.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Aidan. Thanks.
Now time to join Go Racing's Albert Bosma. Albert, the last time we spoke to you, boy, you had a field day with, I think, 3 really good winners in the space of about 40 minutes. So hopefully we can bring you the same luck today.
If you do, there'll be a wee package in the mail for you, Aidan. It'll have alcohol involved in it.
Yeah,
it'll be a lucky charm. We'll call you a DLC, a good luck charm.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully we can get you some winners because he's a big team of Go Racing horses. Let's kick off with Riccarton and Alistair. The resuming run for the new stable was obviously very, very good. How's the horse come on?
Yeah, really well. He was just a little bit immature as a 3-year-old, and we did put him up in stakes class, but he's come back. He's a much improved horse. His action's really good. He's matured. He's a nice chance from a good draw. Very aware of the 2 3-year-old fillies, Chanel and I think it's Ruby Red. They're probably the big dangers, but he's over the odds at $13. He can certainly give this a shake. He's going to win a couple of races at least, I think, this prep.
Okay, how does that spring preparation shape for him?
Look, it's really, when you're kicking off in maiden grade, it's really just assessing him as he goes and how his wins are. But would certainly like to be getting him through to some races over Cup Week at Riccarton. There'll be some really good opportunities for him there. Hopefully we can back him up sort of both, first and last days.
Okay, let's move you on to race 8, and you've got both Hasbro and Severine in there. Hasbro, what a way to end Stephen McKee's training career, giving him that win down there last time, and it was a really brave performance too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was fabulous. I think yesterday was Sticko's last day of training, and it was special for us to get that win, for him. I think it might have been his last win, but full brother to Has a Halo, who's our Group 1 winner with Stephen. So that was a really special. We had a nice chat, that evening. Yeah, look, Stephen's done a great job. He's now transferred to Andrew, and the horse is great. He's flying. He's probably going better than ever. Difficult on Saturday though. Barrier 14 makes it tougher than it did first up, and I'm not sure what we'll do. I think we just have to ride him how we find him from that barrier. If he jumps, great, we can go forward. If he doesn't, we might have to ride him a bit more conservatively. But I'll be surprised if he's not in the finish, no matter where he sits. He's at the best form of his career, I think.
Yeah, really encouraging just to see him extend late in that race, though, wasn't it?
Oh, it was, yeah, and over 1200 too, because he's not a natural 1200-metre horse. I think that's his first win over 1200, possibly, and to do it in open class, and it was a good field. Yeah, it was. It's just shown how well he's come back and how hard he's going to be to beat in all his races.
Yeah, is Copeland's a target?
Yes, it is. Copeland's the target. We think a hard run mile at Riccarton will really suit him. He's probably a horse that if there were 1800-metre races, that'd probably be the best distance for him. So a hard run Riccarton mile will be ideal, and that's the goal. I must admit, I had a nibble on him at 41s when the market first came out, and I'm happy about that now.
Yeah, absolutely. Severine didn't get a lot of luck in that same race last time out, but what's the word about how this one's come on?
Yeah, look, if you recall when we chatted about her last time going into that first up race, I said she was just behind the 8 ball a little bit in terms of fitness, and we didn't have great expectations, and she was actually a bit unlucky. She got no room, and then she dashed the last 15. She's really come on from that. I think she's a really nice top 4 bet. I think on Saturday, I think from her barrier draw, she's going to be just behind the speed somewhere. She's going to have some cover. She normally begins well. She's improved for it. She's on the minimum. I think she'll run really well, and I think she is one that is over the odds. And as I say, I think she's one of those nice top 4 bets.
Yeah, and a really good second up record as well. It's still progressing towards the Breeders' Stakes. Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's the plan. She loves Riccarton, and she particularly loves it in Cup Week. She never goes a bad race there, and she's won a couple. So that race there is the plan. She'll have one more run in 3 weeks' time at Riccarton, and then she'll go into that stakes race 4th up, and that's the plan. Plan is that Group 3 on the middle day of Cup Week. Okay,
moving on to race 9, and you've got to pull your socks up here. Another one, Stephen McKee as well.
Yeah, and she's a mare that she's had little issues and niggles throughout her career, and when she's been right, she's been good, and she's got black type already, and back in the autumn she was less than a length off winning a stakes race, so she's got ability. So visitors draw, even though she's now trained by Andrew Carson at Riccarton of 17, makes it tough. 1200's not ideal, but this preparation she's had no niggles. She's come up really well. No trials. It'll be tough for her because she's probably going to be midfield to back, and hopefully we'll get some cover. But she's got class, and that'll take her a long way. So I wouldn't be saying she can't win, but she'll certainly be improving with it.
Okay, and Deals Dunn's really settled in well down south. The last sort of preparation to before the new season, like the horse was really starting to hit his straps.
Yeah, so as a 3-year-old, we thought he was very, very talented. He was second on debut at Matamata, that he won his maiden coming from last and looked very good. And he just kind of lost his way a little bit as a 4-year-old, lost a bit of confidence. And Stephen sent him down south, and he's got his confidence back. He was on the verge of being retired, and I think the last 6 runs he had 2 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and he stays. So he's being set for the New Zealand Cup. He's got residual fitness that he's had from. He only had a couple of weeks off in August, so he goes into this race. The mile will be too short for him. There's no question. But he sits handy and he'll run well, but it will be too short for him.
Okay, let's head you to Sydney now. And in the fourth there, you've got Wairere Falls, prepared by Chris Waller, obviously beautifully bred. What are your expectations, in Sydney on Saturday?
Yeah, he won very, very well 3 starts back, and then his last 2 runs, he ended up getting back in the field and charged home, and he's racing in great form and great heart. There was a short price favourite in this race, a horse called Brookspire, and it's come out, and Wairere Falls actually came from behind it last start and ran past it. So the tempo of the race looks good, looks genuine speed, and so Tommy Berry gets on well with him, knows him well. We'll probably be just behind midfield, but if the speed maps are right, the tempo's on, and he's a big chance. He's a really, really good chance he can win this race. The mile suits him. The report from Chris this week is he's going really well. We're expecting a very good run.
Okay, and of course the big one for the weekend, you got a tissue going around with a lightweight in a Group 1 Epsom handicap. How exciting!
Oh, mate, it's fantastic. It's what we do it for, isn't it? We do it to have runners in the biggest of big races, and this is a serious Group 1. And we've had a plan with her, and the plan has been to get in on the minimum with her, and that plan's come off. So so far it's all gone. We've ticked every box to date.
Yeah, and the good thing is she's going in terrific form as well. That must give you real heart going into the weekend.
Yeah, it does. She's won 6 of her last 7, and there's a very strong argument it should be 7 from 7. When she was beaten, she had 20 lengths to make up from the 600, and she only just missed. So we're going in. I find it really interesting. Like last start in the Bill Ritchie, we had to ride her out of her comfort zone and drop back in distance to qualify, and she won that. So we asked a lot of her, but she won that, and she's strong on the line. And I look at the market, and she's drifting. She's yesterday in Australia, she was out to 20 to 1. Chris is really happy with her, and I struggle with it because I look at Private Eye, who's carrying 2 kilos over his carded weight that we bet last start. I know there's a bit of a change in weight, and other horses, Arameo, they're coming in the market, and we seem to be drifting, and our horse is on the improve. So I hope that the bookmakers have got it wrong, because I think she's in with a really good shout if we can get a good trip with cover.
Well, ideally you can sting them, because that'll mean you've won an Epsom. That would be just terrific, eh?
Oh, it would be brilliant. Yeah, look, it would be fantastic, to pull it off with a plan, but also, for the owners, for the horse, for everyone, it would be, it'd be emotional, it'd be fantastic. And I don't think we've got to the bottom of this filly yet. I don't know if we know how good she is. So I think it would make a bit of a statement. So it would be wonderful.
Absolutely. A couple of horses I just want to talk about as well. Obviously, the other horse who was part of that great trio of wins, Art the Triumph. She's now the favourite for the Group 1 1,000 guineas. How's she progressing?
Really well. So she hasn't missed a beat since she won the Canterbury Bell. We want to go into the Guineas races 4th up. So that's why there'll be a month between. She's already had two starts, 2 wins this prep. So that's why there's a month before she goes to the Barneswood Farm on the 16th at Ashburton. But she hasn't missed a beat. She had a gallop this week, but she's just a complete professional. When you ask her to do something, she doesn't. Otherwise, she's just happy and relaxed doing whatever. So she's an easy horse to train, and she's spot on target. I think the big question for us will be after the Barneswood is whether we run in the 2,000 guineas or whether we wait for the 1,000 guineas. And, that's something we'll have to consider after her next run.
Okay, could you consider both?
Yeah, we could. I think she's kind of horse that will cope with that, handle it. She doesn't have to travel. It's on her back doorstep. It's a month from, 4 weeks to the 1,000 guineas after the Barneswood Farm. So, that's a bit of a gap, and that'll come into our thinking as well. At this stage, we're still very much thinking, we're favouring just the 1,000 guineas at this stage, but her performance and what she does on the 16th will probably determine whether we can have a crack at both.
Okay, and the other horse we're really keen on finding out about is Lord Ardmore. I think starts on Monday. Of course, it was terrific in some of the best age group staying races last season.
Yeah, he was great last season. We fourth in the 2,000 guineas, fourth in the Avondale guineas, and then the Derby he just got caught 3-4 wide for half the trip, and that was it. So he's been over in Sydney. He's had 2 trials. He's trialled up really well. He kicks off on Monday at Warwick Farm. It's a city meeting because it's a public holiday, over 1,400 metres. Kieran McAvoy in the saddle. He gets in quite well at the weights, I think. He gets in with a good rating over there. He's got 58 kilos in the benchmark 78. So he'll run really well. Chris is very, very happy with him. And he'll run really well. Chris says he'll improve when he gets to a mile, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see him put his hand up on Monday.
Okay, brilliant. Really appreciate you giving us your time. Obviously, a big team through the next few days as well. And we wish you all the success we had last time we spoke to you, Albert.
So do I. Thanks, Aidan.
At this point, we've been blessed by the presence of Chris Wallet joining us, and Chris, a massive day of racing in Australia, 3 Group 1s in Sydney, and of course, very elegant in what is looming as a terrific clash in that Turnbull Stakes. First of all, how's she?
She's very well. Yes, she went to Melbourne on Wednesday night, arrived Thursday morning into our Flemington base. She's obviously been there a few times before, and she settled in really well. So her lead-up runs have been fantastic, and stepping up to 2,000 metres in what looks a pretty good field, but she's ready to run.
Those lead-up runs in Sydney, she's been so willing, hasn't she? She's been really keen to hit the line and refused to get beaten.
Yeah, she certainly has. She fights to the finish, that's for sure. And that last 100 metres of her races is certainly when she starts to excel, like any great horses. And first up, just tempo related, and where she was positioned probably meant she was vulnerable, and she did get beat first up, but she came back with a really good win second up. So, yeah, heads to Melbourne to defend a title, which she won last year, and should be hard to beat again.
Yeah, some real hype around the clash, especially down there. What are your thoughts on how she measures up in that race?
Well, Incentivise is the new talk of town, and he's doing a remarkable job. He's come from Queensland. He's winning moderate races and just keeps getting better and better. And he's been winning by massive spaces. So he resumed with a good win in a weight for age Makybe Diva first up over the mile, and probably gets his first taste at some real serious opposition for the first time. But gee, how high is the ceiling is the question for Incentivise, more so than can we beat him. If he continues to improve, well, he really could be something special. So he'll give us something to beat, as well as Sir Dragonet, who resumed well. He was the Cox Plate winner last spring.
Have you got the edge on them?
Oh, look, they have to rise to our class. I think they haven't announced it yet, but I think Very Elegant will be in line for the Horse of the Year in the next couple of weeks. And look, she's won 9 Group 1 races over a range of distances over 3 years, and she's certainly the benchmark. So, look, she might be removing her crown and passing it on, but it'll take a special horse to beat her.
Yeah, of course, she's already been down there and been named Victorian Racehorse of the Year as well. We'll get a bit of a line on your Melbourne Cup purse at hand too, won't we, in the back companies? You've got 3 in there. Who is shaping as your Melbourne Cup horse at the moment?
Oh, a little bit hard to tell. Obviously, Very Elegant. She raced in the race last year and was very unlucky. she's still a chance of getting there. Tomorrow's racing will be interesting. It's sort of a fork in the road for a lot of horses, in particular Sydney horses. But the horses we've got in the Bart Cummings, Shiraz, he's an exciting French stayer that certainly looks to have ability. So it will be good to see how he adapts to Australian racing. But all signs are good. And Celino, he won the Sydney Cup. So I think he needs a bit further. His lead-up forms to the 2 Mile Sydney Cup was only fair. So it's a similar type race tomorrow. But once he gets to 2 miles, he'll excel. So we're tracking along okay, but a lot can change in the next 4 weeks.
Okay, earlier in the day, you've got runners in 3 other races. Anything that you'd really want to point us towards?
It's a tough time of the year. Ranch Hand, he was very impressive first up. He looks the real deal in terms of the 3-year-old colts. We've got a 2-year-old having its first start called Robusto. He's certainly one that looks to have a bright future.
Okay, let's head you down to Randwick, and obviously just a massive day of racing. The first of those Group 1s is the Flight Stakes. You've got 3 in there, Hinge, She's All Class, and Fangirl. What can you tell us about the trio?
Well, She's All Class is the best of the 3. But gee, her 2 runs this preparation have been disappointing. So we've put some blinkers on. We've just tried a few different things in track work, and it seems to be helping. But it's a big step to make. But she's certainly got the class edge. Fangirl, she only won a provincial maiden last week by a big space though. So she's got to take the next step. And Hinge, she's got some Queensland form. She was disappointing in her first Sydney run. I think she's still a prep away. So not our strongest race tomorrow, but I would say She's All Class is our best chance.
Okay, I like that. 5 runners in an excellent at Group 1 level. Star of the Seas, Arameo, who have just been tipped by Brad Gray, Reloaded, Hungry Heart, and a Tissue, obviously, who's just made every post a winner since she's joined you. How are you assessing your team?
Well, Hungry Heart's got the right credentials on previous winners we've had in the race, which is an exciting 3-year-old coming back at 4, and they tend to beat the handicapper. So I like her on top for that reason. She was the Oaks winner here, and she won her 2 lead-up races prior to that, and she's coming out of a weight for age run last start. So to some degree, we've got a really good weight. A Tissue, I don't think people gave her a lot of merit for her win last start, which was the Bill Ritchie. It qualified her for the Epsom. We were dropping her back in distance to 1400, and I think that was against her, but she overcame that to win. She's a really good Savabeel filly. Obviously, you've seen quite a bit of her in New Zealand, and it's a big step. She's not that well fancied by the form guides, but gee, I think they're underestimating her. So I think she'll go close. Arameo, who's a Group 1 winner in Singapore, he's adapted well to life back in Australia. Star of the Seas is the benchmark. He ran second in the Doncaster last year. And Reloaded, he was very unlucky last week. But I think in that order, Hungry Heart, a Tissue, and then the other 3 would be my choice.
Okay, really nice hand. And of course, pretty similar in the Metrop as well. We've got Dashing Willoughby, Charm Star, No Compromise, and Great House as well. And these, well, most of them in with really nice weights as well.
Yeah, I like No Compromise. He was very unlucky in the Newcastle Cup. Obviously, he's got the New Zealand connections with the Thurlow family owning him. But the way he attacked the line was good. He had a great winter. He's a tough horse. He'll stay. So I think he could turn the tables on the stablemate Great House. He won the Newcastle Cup. Dashing Willoughby has improved significantly with blinkers on. So I'd have a slight leaning towards those 3, but No Compromise would be my first pick.
It's an interesting prep that we sort of made note of it around Charm Star, who has been Oaks placed at this trip, both sides of the Tasman. What about her?
She's been placed in the New Zealand Oaks. She ran a terrific race in the Queensland Oaks, and I can't fault her. I think 2,400 metres will suit. She'll get a good track. First up, she got a wet track, which didn't suit at all. So, yeah, she's down in the weight. She's got that 3-year-old turning 4, beating the handicapper. So, no, she's got a terrific chance. And look, she ran with about 8 weeks between runs in her first Australian start, running second in Queensland. And yeah, so although it's a big step up in trip, I think she's ready for it and she'll run really well.
Okay, good. You're outside the Group 1s, you've still got runners and other features there. Anything else in Sydney that's of note?
Just having a quick look at them. We've got a nice 2-year-old running, Zambezi River. He hasn't been wound up to win first up, but his natural ability would certainly suggest he'd be hard to beat. Wairiri Falls, he's one to watch, the Go Racing team. He's got a fairly good draw. There's good pace on, and he'll be attacking the line strongly. I think that'd be our best chances.
Okay, good. Yeah, really appreciate the time, Chris. Anything that we should be looking out for in the next couple of weeks as your team really ramps up for spring?
Look, there's some great racing in Australia coming up, and we're like New Zealand, we're doing it pretty tough with COVID, and racing stood tall and really being noticed. I'm not sure how it is in New Zealand, but it's amazing the amount of people that don't normally follow racing and are sending emails in or ringing and saying, well, you had a good day Saturday, or what do you think of this horse coming up? So I think from that perspective, it's great. So just look forward to our racing. It's fantastic. This used to be the end of the Sydney Spring Carnival, but that's changed over the last few years. We've now got the Spring Champion will be on the next week for Group 1 racing. We've got the Everest the following week with a massive undercard of $1 million races. And then that leads into this new race called the Invitation. So we're going to be strongly represented over the next few Saturdays in Sydney. And that, I think, comes up to the Golden Eagle. So it's a really, really, really bright future for racing here. Sorry to say it, but the one thing I'll say is I think New South Wales in particular are leaders in their field, and whether it be coronavirus or prize money or racing, I think we should be followed. So I'm certainly lucky and proud to be here, and let's hope we can get through COVID and get a few more New Zealand horses and trainers over here, jockeys, and likewise we'll hopefully get back to New Zealand for the summer sales. So yeah, lots to look forward to. Nature Strip's going terrific. He'll run in the Everest. He's our number 1 seed there, so follow him.
Okay, really appreciate the time, especially when you list all those races, how busy you are. So we're grateful for your time, Chris. Go well for the weekend.
Thank you very much.
Massive weekend of racing coming out of Sydney as well. We head to Randwick. We've grabbed Adrian Bott, trains in partnership with Gay Waterhouse, to talk through what is a really strong hand, Adrian. But before we get on to that, what about the win in the Golden Rose last week within the Congo? Fantastic. Congratulations. When will we see that horse next?
Yeah, thanks very much. Fantastic effort from the colt. He's going to head down to the Coolmore Stakes down in Melbourne. I think it'll be an excellent horse down the straight. Obviously, he sort of raced for a Colts partnership, so that's sort of a very valuable race for those types of horses. But yeah, most important, I'd love to. I think a strong sort of 6 furlongs up the straight would be perfect for the horse. So we'll head there Derby Day.
Okay, and of course, a chance for you to back up at Group 1 level this weekend. I think you'd basically handed us Riccarton about 4 weeks ago on this show. That's not bad long range tipping, Adrian.
Oh, we haven't pulled it off yet, so I don't want to go too soon. But he's into favourite for the race, and obviously just sort of well weighted. It's just a lovely profile for him coming back from weight for age level to handicap conditions. So he's sort of dropping a good, sort of 7 kilos or so down to 51 kilos there. He's coming through that right form, very elegant. Obviously she's an exceptional mare, and think it over. There've been some great performers at weight for age level. So for him to sort of now come back to the handicap conditions, he looks well placed here. Just got to overcome a bit of a tricky draw for him, but Rachel King's able to stick with him. She knows him well, and I must say gets on with him very well.
Will you press forward from out there?
I think we'll have to. Yeah. He's fortunate These last couple of runs, he has shown that really good tactical speed. Sort of 12 months ago, he wasn't quite beginning as brilliantly. So if he can do that again on Saturday, certainly want to try and capitalise on that. I guess we've got that lightweight. So, look to be positive. Otherwise, we could be sort of caught a bit awkward. In saying that, I guess in these types of races, it's certainly going to be a lot more pressure than probably what he's had in his last couple of runs.
Okay, we're going to claim him as a Kiwi. Of course, he began his career here, but he settled into Sydney so well, didn't he?
Yeah, it's fantastic. And ever since he arrived over, the guys did such a great job in preparing him coming over last year. Our job was so easy. He sort of arrived off the plane and was nearly running in these races for us. So it was sort of a good handball there. And I just want to be able to try and deliver a big result for Alan. Alan Galbraith, that is. Obviously, he's put a bit of faith in sending him over, and love to raise the profile of his stallion. Brazier is a fantastic horse over here. He looks to be siring plenty of winners, and I know this horse is very talented in his own right. So, I want to be able to sort of do that whole process justice by capitalising on a big result on Saturday.
Absolutely, and we echo best of luck to Alan as well. Discharge your other runner in the race. How much of a chance are you giving this horse?
Look, he can pop up at odds and run a good, honest race. He's that type of horse. He's very, very tough, so should really thrive and appreciate the backup. Obviously, a similar sort of preparation to what we ran Riccarton in last year, 12 months ago, when he finished second in the Shannon narrowly and came into this race and finished third. So it certainly can be done. He's got a nice soft draw. He puts himself on pace, and again at the lightweight. So. Those types of horses, you always got to have them in consideration. But, obviously I feel Riccarton's probably bringing the class out of the two.
Okay, the other Group 1 on the card is the Metropolitan race at the stable's got such a great record in. You've got Entente and Hastings there. Both down on the weights too. How are you rating your chances?
Yeah, Entente's thriving. He's going 3 weeks in a row now. Obviously won impressively there last week over the 2400. It was a strongly run race, and he was able to settle beautifully off that. Just helped him find a lovely rhythm, and he showed a great turn of foot on the back of that. So running a strong Metropolitan trip is sort of no concern for him. And amazed by the way that he's come out of that run in fairness. He's had a great week, and didn't hesitate to have to back him up 3 weeks in a row. So he's got the milers in his legs now for Saturday. Good, tough horse, and he's drawn to get all the favours and nice lightweight chance. Hush Rider, he was first up in the Newcastle Cup over 2300 and just probably raced a little bit fresh. He raced outside the leader there and just wanted to get on with it a bit. So now he's had that run, he should be able to settle a bit better. And if he can get a bit of cover on Saturday, he certainly proved to be much more effective.
Okay, it's a really open Group 1 flight stake for the 3-year-old fillies this year. Well, it seems on paper as well. You've got a couple there, Never Been Kissed, Kiwi Bred and Swift Witness as well. How are you rating that pair?
Obviously, Swift Witness has sort of been I guess sort of bring the form through the entire Princess series. She was able to win the first leg, and I thought she's probably been one of the most consistent of all the fillies throughout each of the legs. I thought she ran out a strong 1,400 metres there last start. She just sort of got trapped wide early and had to do plenty of work to get across and lead them up. So that may have just sort of left her vulnerable late. She wasn't beaten far and finished second and relegated to third on protest. So, she's been great. I think she'll run out a strong mile. Hopefully the track stays dry for her, and I think she'll give it an excellent shot. Never Been Kissed in the same race. I know it sort of may seem like we threw in the deep end a bit, but she'd certainly been showing us enough at home, and she seemed like she was going to be able to excel once she can get over to this sort of trip at the mile. And last start, she was 3 wide without cover and sort of got to the part of the track where they weren't really making any ground on the day. So she stuck on well and still beat some nice horses home. So she just looked like she was looking for the mile, bit out sprinted there. So she gets a nice chance from a soft draw. Might be able to sort of see her just conserve, and if the track's paying a little bit better for her, she's she can run a bigger race than what her odds suggest.
Okay, could either of them become Victorian Oaks prospects?
Yeah, I guess Never Been Kissed potentially. Looks like she's got the page to sort of be able to train on that way. Swift Witness, I would have thought probably The mile probably pulls her up. She could look at going down, or both fillies could look at going down for the 1,000 guineas. Which is I think 10 days later. That'd be a possibility. I'd say the Oaks for both fillies might just be a bit of a stretch this campaign.
Okay, yeah, early in the program, plenty of runners. Can you maybe point us to maybe something you're liking earlier in the day there at Randwick?
Look, we got the 2-year-olds are stepping out, which are always interesting. Of the fillies, I thought Pantanario is probably our maybe best chance of the 2-year-old stepping out. She ran a really quick time in the trials and just sort of knocked up a bit late, but she went into the trial with a fair bit of improvement to come out of it. She's got a nice jaw, and I think she's a classy filly. Of the colts, I really like Kaboo. I thought he trialled very impressively and looked at plenty of raw talent, but he's got a barrier of 14, so if there's any sort of hesitation there at the start for him, he's going to find himself in a tricky spot. It may all just happen a bit too quick for him, but he is a nice horse to follow going forward.
Okay, also we're really keen on just getting your thoughts on the couple of runners down in Melbourne. Of course, it's Bart Cummings Day. Have you got a Melbourne Cup prospect on your hands here?
Yeah, this is him, Knight's Order. So, this is the race that would love to see him, pick up to get that important, ticket to the Melbourne Cup. He's proven over the trip. He won the Brisbane Cup there, 3,200. So we had him on this. He's been set for this race to on the way through to the Melbourne Cup. I thought he was excellent there. First up, he did plenty of work from a wide draw up the hill there at Caulfield and stuck on very well. His pattern sort of shows he improves pretty sharply second up, which is what he is on Saturday. So I think that's a nice race for him. I can see him being a big chance. Okay,
how do you get to the Melbourne Cup safely through this one?
Look, if we get that, whether we look to a race like the Caulfield Cup, not sure exactly what will be the path. I guess the result will determine that. If we get our ticket or not, or if we've got to look for other desperate ways to get in or not, we'll see what we can do. But hopefully we can get the result on Saturday. Okay,
and the other race you've got runners in down one runner, and it's the 2-year-old race down at Melbourne as well.
Yeah, a nice deep field, Colt. He did most of his sort of preparation here in Sydney, then sent him down to Melbourne. He had a nice sharp jump out down there. I thought he was pretty impressive on what we saw off that. So he's got the early speed to be effective up the straight. So he might be a nice chance for us.
Okay, just lost the page. It was Black Tahitian as well, isn't it? So a couple of good runners. Who's the one that New Zealand punters should be getting on out of the Waterhouse Pot stable for the weekend, Adrian?
Look, I think everyone's got to stick with Riadini there. I think it's a close game for everyone. He's going there, and he's really going there in great shape. He really is really happy with the horse, and this is the race he's been set for. It looks a lovely profile for him.
Okay, your audience too. That's always a good sign. Thanks for joining us, Adrian, and best of luck for the weekend.
Thanks for having us on the show.
Three Group 1s this weekend out of Sydney, and what a program. Epsom Metropolitan Flight Stakes, and to find us winners of all three, we've welcomed in Brad Gray from New South Wales. Brad, well, this is some sort of meeting, eh?
Sure is. We'll certainly be doing our best, Aidan, to find winners in these races. It's not as simple as that, is it? When you go to these big handicap races, there's chances aplenty right down the page, particularly when it comes to the Epsom, particularly when it comes to the Metro, and then we've got a pretty open flight stakes as well this year. So if you find the treble, you're doing very, very well.
Let's start on the Epsom. Obviously, a really good handicap, and obviously that means that a few of these really favoured runners are getting in with lightweights. How does the field stack up for you?
Yeah, it's a good field. It's a really competitive field right down the page here. Weights obviously plays a big role in these races. I'm not a huge weights man myself, but when it's relative to what other runners carry, that's when it becomes a little bit eye-opening, doesn't it? For example, a horse like Mwanga, 57 kilos. Can it give a horse like Riadini 5.5? Probably not, but he is a pretty handy horse. For me, this race comes down to Arameo. I think he peaks up perfectly. He's now with Chris Waller. He's had 2 runs back this time, and they've both been outstanding. The first of those was behind Jockey, who is in the conversation as one of the best horses in the country at the moment. And then last start in the Bill Ritchie, which has actually provided the past 2 winners in Probabeel and Colding. I could see you smiling there as soon as I said Probabeel's name there, Aidan. But he had nothing go his way in that race, Arameo. So everything that could have gone against him was against him. Now, this is a day at Randwick where he needed to be on the fence. He was well off the fence. He had 58 kilos, so he's in the worst ground with the big weight, and the tempo in the race just didn't suit him at all. Yet he still got within a length of the winners at the finish, and drawn a gate here, he drops in weight out to his right trip of a mile. I think he is very, very hard to beat. It's hard to knock a horse like Riccarton. He's the obvious one, and you can see why the market's gravitating towards him, because he brings that weight for age form back to a handicap. That's the tried and true formula for form analysts. If you see that, generally your ears prick up and you just want to bet. The key to him, though, is the setup of this race. So he's got a horse, Ashman, on his outside. Now, Ashman's a pretty keen going horse, so I think for Riccarton, the race is going to be won or lost in the first couple of 100 metres. If he has to do too much work early, he's going to be vulnerable late. If he gets control early, and then Rachel King is allowed to build the pressure in the middle stages and then try and pinch the race at the 400, he'll probably win. But I just think there's enough pressure here for it to set up for someone like Arameo just to get off his back late.
I was actually smiling because you mentioned that, George, mate. And of course, a tissue won it this year as well, and another kind of New Zealand owned horse, as is Riccarton. What sort of chance is she from right down in the weights?
Yeah, she's a big hope. Yeah, I've got her in the numbers. I think Arameo can potentially turn the tables at the weights, and given the way the races will run last time out. But the case for her is, yes, she was in the right spot in the Bill Ritchie. But that being said, she was 1,500 metres back to 1,400 metres. That certainly wasn't in her favour. You'd know as well as anyone that she's a genuine miler type. So if she can get the right run in the race, somewhere midfield, good speed in the race, I think she'll be flooding home at the finish with no weight on her back. So I'll be giving a cheer as well as Arameo.
Okay, let's move on to the Metropolitan and 2,400 metres, and this is the last time before, obviously, they head down to Melbourne for some of the big races down there. We've got Quick Thinker in there. He was okay at Newcastle last time out, but how do you assess this one?
Yeah, he was pretty brave, wasn't he? I don't think the barrier gods have done him any favours here. He's drawn very wide, and there's a bit of pressure here. So how much work he has to do in the early stages will be detrimental in terms of his finishing spot. Eye on the sky as well. There's a bit of rain forecast for this afternoon. He'll want a good drenching for him to come into the mix, and if he gets it, he's a player all of a sudden. But on top, I've got Entente with 52.5. Now this is a hard fit horse. The 3rd week in a row he backs up. You've got the Gay Waterhouse and Adrian Bott polish. They're obviously a stable in fine form at the moment, coming off in the Congo's win, and Vangelic last week in the Golden Pendant and the Golden Rose. Entente, he just fits a lovely profile for this race. He's going to be in the first couple. He gets Tim Clark, which is a bit of a luxury for a horse with 52.5, a rider of that ilk, and a rider that knows this horse. He's been with him throughout his entire career. You look back at Gay's record in this race too. She's won 8 of them, and with 7 of those were horses with the quick backup from the Colin Stephen, which this bloke fits into that bill. And historically, it's not a race where you want to get too far back. So that makes me query where the likes of She's Ideal and Montefilia are going to be in the run. Can they give away 10 lengths at the top of the straight in a Metro? I don't think you can. Do they roll the dice and punch forward? I don't think they're that type of style of horse either. So a bit problematic for those on the map, but no such queries with Entente. He's going to be in the right spot, hard fit, 2,400 metres, perfect, and the Gay Waterhouse and Adrian Bott, hard fit horses, very hard to beat 2,400 metres.
Okay, before we leave the race, Charm Star has been Oaks placed on both sides of the Tasman. Any chance for her?
She's a fascinating runner. She's the horse I found it very hard to get a line on. It's such an unconventional preparation, particularly for someone like Chris Waller, who's so methodical in terms of his campaigns with horses. He generally has a tried and true formula. You've got this horse, 1,500 metres, 1,600 metres, and then 3rd up, she's out to 2,400 metres with no weight on her back. So she doesn't seem like a horse that would probably take much work to get fit. Maybe she's a small, lightly framed thing, and that gives Chris the confidence to go up 800 metres. So the fact she is here, I should say, bears plenty of respect. And she's probably not the worst. I think she's about $30, $40 at the moment. So I think you can do sillier things and throw into your first 4s and your quaddies, certainly.
Okay, earlier on, the fillies go around the Group 1 flight stakes, and it's been pretty even, and you've sort of made mention of it, that there's no real standout among the ranks there.
Yeah, we're waiting for a filly all carnival just to stand up and assert themselves as the dominant filly this season, but it hasn't happened. Like, you look at the first 3 here, as I look at the racebook order, 4 moves ahead, Mallory, and Swift Witness, they've both run in the 3 traditional legs, your Silver Shadow, your Furious, and the T-Rose, and they've all finished in reverse order. So they've been shuffling their finishing positions, which doesn't give you a lot of faith that that'll be a true and reliable form reference. And then the fact that there was very little half a length between them there in their last start. So I've gone with Startontes. How many of these fillies could get within a couple of lengths of the best colts in the country in the Golden Rose is the question that I'm asking myself, and I'm going to say none. Outside of Artorias, she had the second quickest last 600 metres in the race. Now, can she back up within 7 days? Because there's not a lot of her. And can she run 1,600 metres? They're the questions that this race completely hinges on. I think if she does, I think she wins, which is why we're probably getting $4 instead of $2.50. So I think at the price, you can probably gamble that those things maybe fall into her favour, because from the gate, she certainly gets every chance.
Is it a little bit of it's a Queensland visitor, we don't need to prop this in at $2.50 or $3?
Maybe it's a bit like that. Maybe if she was trained by Chris Waller, we'd have to take even money. I think if there's a roughie in the race, it's Stray for Anthony Cummings and Glenn Scoper. This is a horse that comes a bit left field as well. She hasn't run against the fillies yet. She's been knocking around against the boys, and she ran over 1,800 metres in the Gloaming last week. So if this race turns into a bit of a test, back to 1,600 metres, good draw, I think she can run a bit of a race at odds.
Okay, New Zealand punters waiting for the Brad Gray special. What's the one we want to be backing at Randwick?
Yeah, we're gonna have to be patient. Race 10, so maybe we'll keep it in the top pocket as the get out. Gravino for me. Race 10, number 12, James Cummings, Rachel King. We see Godolphin and James have so much success taking advantage of these benchmark minimums since they were lowered to 52. They place their horses in such a way where they can take advantage of the weight scale. They throw Rachel King on, and it's generally a tried and proven formula for them over the past 6-12 months or so. And I think this bloke fits the bill. His career peak came over Randwick 1,200 metres last prep. If he reproduces anything like that here, and I think he should have won first up, it was only the bias track that beat him, he'll win this race. So, yeah, I think he's one to keep him off the last there, Aidan.
Okay, liking that. Thanks again for taking us through that on what's a really good day's race, and we'll be tuned in here on Trackside.
Yeah, thanks.
Group 1 racing out of Melbourne this weekend as well, and what a Turnbull Stakes in order. We've got Ben Ascari from Racing.com just to talk to us around what is a glamour clash. There's 10 horses, but I guess a real focus on just 2 of them, Ben.
Sure is. Very elegant, incentivised. You can probably throw the Dragonet and Colette in the mix as some real quality animals, but no doubt it's the 9-time Group 1 winner and Very Elegant versus the Boom horse in Incentivised. And what a fascinating clash it's going to be. Speed-wise, there's no speed in the race. Incentivised will control the race as he likes. But as we wake up Friday morning in Melbourne, they were expecting potentially to have to put water on the track, and 23 mils has fallen over Thursday night. So we're into a soft 6. I expect that track will probably get back to a soft 5, but that definitely helps Very Elegant as opposed to a genuine good 4. So I think if we're on the better side of a 5, I'm leaning to Incentivised, but if we do get some rain during the day or some more rain Friday night, then I'd be leaning to Very Elegant. So it really depends on track condition for me, but a fascinating contest.
Absolutely. What's the hype like over in Melbourne, around this clash?
It's pretty good. And the Very Elegant fans are really quite passionate, as you would be. 9-time Group 1 winner. You see there's plenty of chatter around, how is this horse not shorter, et cetera, et cetera. So the VE fans are up and about. I think the Incentivised fans, on the other hand, maybe quietly confident that he can roll it. But I think track condition is going to be crucial. And she won this race third up last prep, Very Elegant, but she fell in against Hungry Heart. That was on a good 3. I think she's such a better horse if she gets her soft ground, which she looks like she's going to. She's got a terrific third up record too. In 6 third up runs, she's been beaten once, and that was by a Dayeb, who's world class. So fascinating contest. I think Incentivised can prove that he's up to this level. Whether he can beat her, we'll find out.
Okay, over here we're all Very Elegant, so we'll just leave it at that. Move on to the Bart Cummings. Obviously, it's a key lead up into the Melbourne Cup. Did you ever thought on that race?
I do. I really like the race. I think that intent is key. So there's some really smart horses like Realm of Flowers and Dawn Patrol who are already in the Cup, so there's not that intent. They don't need to win. Whereas this horse import from France for Chris Waller, Shiraz, I think he needs to win. Grand Promenade needs to win. They head the betting, and I think with good reason. I think they're the 2 to beat. Shiraz has some really handy French credentials. Ollie's been booked for the ride, and I think he will He'll measure up, and I think could be a live Melbourne Cup chance if he wins. Grand Promenade was terrific in the main lead up the Foundation Cup, wide on a fast speed. He's a much better horse, Flemington, over more ground. He'll put himself on speed. And the other one, I could have something else. I could back those two, and could have something at a big price on Porky Arm. He improved sharply second up in the Foundation Cup. Bigger track third up. He's probably got more improvement to come. And his form prior to coming to Australia was, top notch for a race like this. So I'm going to back a few in that race. The two that have that intent in Shiraz and Grand Promenade, but also at a big price. Just something small to win on the race as well on Porky Arm.
Okay, a really nice card, and obviously the stakes races through, including the Tony Pipe train to Takaka and the Superimposed Stakes earlier on. Have you found a bid or two for us somewhere else on the program?
Yeah, I've got plenty of time for a filly coming through a maiden in the Edward Manifold. It's not a strong Edward Manifold. Don't be put off by the Group 2 status. It's basically a benchmark 74. The top rater is Elusive Express with the 74 rating. So I think maiden form's fine. And coming out of a really strong maiden is Glint of Hope. She ran third behind Cuban Link, who won its next start at Flemington and is one of the prominent elects and about fourth or fifth line for 1,000 guineas. Thought she was a better run than Cuban Link. I think the big track 1,600 are big ticks. And out of that strong maiden, I think she can measure up. So you're getting $8 or $9, I think, each way in the Edward Manifold's a good bet there for Glint of Hope. And the horse I'm really keen on, I'm hoping we get back to a 5, and I'm expecting we will get back to a 5. And it's going to suit her perfectly, is Mystic Journey in the 6th race on the program. I don't think she's the horse she was as a 3-year-old filly, winning an All-Star Mile, etc. But I don't think she needs to be. What I think the first run told us is that she's come back to the form from sort of 2 preparations ago, which is really unlucky in an Empire Rose, and that she's over that form last preparation where she wasn't at her best. She had bone chips removed, so we can forgive the last prep. First up run was great, 4 wide throughout, attacked the line, and with that run under the belt, she's, we know she's just better than Mare's Grade. We're getting better than $4. I think it's a really fair bet and the best of the day for me, Mystic Journey.
Okay, it's a race that does feature the Group 2 Waikato Guineas winner and Tokarangi first up over there as well. So really appreciate you taking us through the card. Can't wait for that Turnbull. And, of course, just that Spring Carnival really starting to heat up now, Ben.
It sure is. This is moving day, Turnbull Stakes Day. This is where we start, horses start putting their best foot forward towards some of these big features, and can't wait to get into it.
And our thanks to all the guests that have joined us here on the forum today. Right now, let's recap the best bets. And that wraps us up for the forum. Make sure you join us for live coverage of this fantastic racing weekend. Don't forget about the bonus splits as well, with bonus back on the first 4 races out of Hastings, Riccarton, Randwick and Flemington as well. And we've got $50,000 into the late quaddie at Hastings, $30,000 into the late quaddie at Riccarton, and $30,000 first 4 pulls all day at Hastings as well. Don't forget about Great Northern Day as well at Te Aroha on Sunday. Join us for the live racing.